Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another video. This one is paper 1-1 of May-June 2022. Of course, with that being said, let's move on to the questions. As you guys know, we cannot use a calculator in paper 1, so let's focus on step by step. So what do we have here? So we have write down the value of 5 in the number this. Now, what does it really mean? For example, let's say I write 25. Write down the value of 5, you'd say, okay, pretty easy. It should be just 25. Right? Now what if I write 52? Now we have to understand 52 is actually 50 plus 2. So the value of 5 in this number has to be 50, right? So that's the way we think about this question. So here, let's break this down. So what is this number? So you could think of this as it is 203,624 plus 5,0,0,0,0 in order to get this number. So the value of 5 in this will be this. So it will be 50,000 in this part A of your question. Now the main key here was just to understand what they were asking for and how to look for that number. That's basically it. Now for part B, the crowd at a sports event is exactly 35,687. Write this number correct to the nearest 10. Okay, so now we have to understand what does it mean nearest 10. Now we know 10 is written as this, right? So it is a 2-digit number. So the idea here is we have to round up the 2-digit number here at the end of this number. Now we have 87, right? So what is the 10 that is closest to 87? So for example, this is known as a 10. It could be 20, the other 10s, 30 as the other 10s, and so on and so forth. So we know before this, after this, we can have 80 as one of the 10s, and then 90 as one of the 10s. So the question you ask yourself is, to which number is it closer? So by observation, you can see, or you can say clearly, 87 is closer to 90 than 80, so we round up 87 to 90. So by the way, if you had 85, I know that will be the same distance from both, but you will choose to go with 90 as well if it is 5 or more. Okay, in this case it is 87. It's obvious that it's closer to 90, so you will round up this number right here to 90, closest tens. That is question number 1. Now let's move on to question number 2. So here we have to write down the number of lines of symmetry of this diagram. Let's check. This is question, obviously we have to understand it is done by observation. Nothing special, just observation. So how many lines of symmetry do we have? So by observation, if I draw a straight line here, right, it would divide this shape exactly in half. So obviously that is one line of symmetry. But if you flip this here, let's try. Okay, so if I divide this here, will this be equal? Probably not. This way, nope. So by observation, it's only 1. So we have only one line of symmetry in this part 1. Now for part B, we have to write down the order of rotational symmetry of this diagram. Now the main question we have to ask ourselves here is how many times? So I guess sometimes it can be confusing. You may forget how to really find this answer. So what can you think of is this question: how many times? How many times do I see the same image when I rotate this image by 360? So that's the main idea behind this. How many times do you see the same image when you rotate this by 360? Usually, if we did not have this, we can see this is a hexagon. Obviously it's a 6-sided shape. We would usually say, okay, because it is has 6 sides which are of the equal length, that will be 6 for your answer. But here we have this is the tricky part right now. So we have this thing, we have to take this into account. So let's try to rotate this by 360 and see how many times do we see the same shape. So here we have, this is facing this, right, on top. Let's rotate. Let's rotate by 90. So when this face on top, we don't have this peak here, so it doesn't count. We rotate by 180. Okay, so we have the peak here, so that is, we see this one time. Rotate by another 90. We don't have this peak here, doesn't count, so rotate back to 190, so 90 again. That will be a full rotation of 360. So in this full rotation, we see this shape, so this connecting with the peak 2 times. So by observation, your answer will be rotational symmetry of 2. That is obviously one way of doing this question. There's other ways to think about this, but this is my preferred way of thinking because it comes more naturally to me. That will be question number 2, part B. Now let's move on to question number 3. So the table shows the average monthly temperatures in Vladivostok, someplace, I don't know where that is, but just the temperatures, right? Now find the difference between the highest and the lowest of these temperatures. So let's first find the highest, one by one. Where is the highest temperature? So it is not this one, obviously, has to be on the positive side. So these are the positive numbers, so the highest should be 20. So highest. And the lowest should be on the negative side, so let's check. So it did -1, -9, -2, so it should be this one on the lowest. So how do you find the difference? You take the highest temperature, you minus the lowest one, right? That will be 20, minus become plus 12, that will be 32 as your difference in temperature. That is part A of your question. Now for part B. In February, the average temperature in Yakutsk, someplace, I don't know, is 37 degrees below that in Vladivostok, someplace. Now find the average temperature in Yakutsk in February. Okay, so what can we do here is we can try to understand this. We can make an equation out of this line. So let's call this the temperature in Y. We don't know the value. Let's call this X. We don't know the value, right? And here we have the temperature in this. We also the average. So actually here we know the value. My mistake. It is 37. Yeah, my bad. So here for this one we don't know the value. So the average temperature is 37 below that. Okay. So we don't know the value. It is below. This is my mistake. I kind of overread this. So this one we don't know yet as well. So what do we know is, if it is below, it means that if you were to take the temperature of this one minus the temperature of this one, you're supposed to get 37. Right, so now we have to find the temperature of this one. So this is the unknown that we need to find. This is called X. So TV minus X is equal to 37. Hopefully that makes sense. We're trying to form an equation to help us to find what are we trying to find, to help us to know exactly what we are trying to find. So we have to first calculate this value from this table. Makes sense, right? From this table. Or we have this already, as you can see. And then using that value to find the value of X that we need to find. So what is the average temperature in Vladivostok? So it is in February. So let's have a look. January, February. So the temperature was -8. So here you go. So here we had -8 minus X was supposed to give you 37 degrees. Which means if you make X become subject, we send this over here, becomes -8 minus 37. So X will be minus 45 degrees Celsius. So minus 45 degrees Celsius will be the temperature in this place. Again, this is not supposed to confuse you. I apologize for the little jumps here and there, but the idea is very simple. We have one value given to you on the table. We have to use this line here to find the missing value, which is the temperature in the Y thing, in the Y place. Okay, so let's move on to question number 4. So here we have two cubes have a total volume of 152 centimeters cube. This is the total volume. Okay, one cube has an edge of length 5. Now we have to also understand what is the shape of a cube. The cube is something like this, right? So it is equal side. So basically the idea is this is 5, this is 5, and the height is 5. This is the cube that we have for this one. One of the cube is this shape. So what is the volume of this cube? You would say it is length times width times height. That would be 25 times 5 will be what? 125. So part 1 is we have to calculate the length of the edge of the other cube. So one by one. The total is 152. If you minus one of the cubes, so 152 minus 125, let's see what do we get. That will be 4 here, 10. That should be 7, 27. So the volume of the other cube is 27 centimeters cube. Now how do you find the volume of a cube? It is length times width times height, as we have seen. Now we say, obviously we don't know the length. Let's call the length x. So x times x times x, that will be, because why x times x times x? Because we know the sides of the cube are all the same. That will be x cubed is supposed to give you 27. X will be cubic root of 27, and the value should be value 3. That is part B of your question. Now for part B, work out the total length of all the edges in the larger cube. So larger cube, as we have seen over here, this question is not tough. It is just we have to observe properly before solving this. So let's draw this here. This is the larger cube. We have this. We just have to count carefully. All the sides are 5, so we count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 sides, 8 side edges. So 8 times 5, that should be 40. Again, this is just a counting problem. Now let's move on to question number 5. The diagram shows the net of a solid drawn on a 1 centimeter grid. So the idea is this length here is 1 centimeters given to you by the question. Now what else? So part 1, we have to name the solid formed by this net and describe fully the dimensions of this solid. So first thing first is name the solid form. That's the first question, and then afterwards we have to kind of describe the dimension of this by using this information right here. Now this question, you have to use your imagination. Obviously, what happens? You have to close these two round sides. Think of this. Close these two, and then we have to roll it up. You will end up with a cylinder, obviously. Think about this. We have these two things here on both ends, and then this is the flat surface. If you round it up around the circles, you will have something like this. If that makes sense. It will be a cylinder. Right. The name will be a cylinder. Now usually we describe the cylinder by its radius or its diameter and its height. So we have to provide those dimensions to satisfy the question. So let's see, let's count. So here we have a circle. What is the radius? Or what is the diameter? We count. We have 1, 2, 3. So the diameter is 3 centimeters. Okay, which means if this is 3, the radius has to be half of that, which is 1.5 centimeters. Right. Now what is the height? If you use your imagination, this one up, and we roll it around, this will be the height of the shape. That will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 centimeters. There you go. Dimensions will be radius. You can write this as radius is equal to 1.5. And the height has been seen to be 6. Again, this is done by observation and your imagination. Right, nothing crazy here. Just have to be patient and kind of like, okay, let me think what's going on. Now let's move on to question number 6. So we have a write down in prime number, okay, prime number between these two. Now, first thing we have to know, okay, what are the numbers between these two? So let's list them down. You will have 11, 12, 13, and 14. Obviously, we should know right away that even numbers cannot be prime. So, I mean, at least in this range, right? So we can just take this out for now. All right. Now, we have 13 and 11. So obviously you can choose any one of those because we do not have a factor for 11 and no for 13. So I'll go with 13. Why not? Now question is B. Find an irrational number between the value of this and this. Now, as we have seen before, we have solved this question many times. It should be pretty easy. So the main idea is to represent what does it mean to find an irrational number. It is a number that cannot be expressed as a fraction. It is a non-exact number. That's what it means really. Let us find that. So let's call this number x. Has to be between 10 and 15. Now let me rewrite this as well. We can write this as square root of 100, if that makes sense. And what is 15 square? Obviously you don't need to know that by heart. You can always calculate the value, up to you. So 5 times 5 will be 25. That will be 5 plus 2, 7. This goes away. That will be 5 and 1. That'll be 5, 2, right? So 7 plus 5 is 12. Give you 2 here, 1 goes here, that'll be 2. So 225. So usually, if you skip the square numbers, if you take any value in between here, it will be irrational. For example, I can say if I take root of 1, 0, 1, it's basically right after this one, if that makes sense. It's still between them, but it will be irrational. But I guess it may be confusing when you take large numbers. Let me show you guys a very simple example. Let's say I had x between the value of 2 and 3. If I take the root of, this is the same as 4, root of 9. Now in between I will have root of 5 to choose from, root of 6, root of 7, root of 8. So between those numbers we can choose anything that may be irrational. Now again, you will choose something that you're kind of convinced it will not be exact. For example, let me skip the even numbers because sometimes we'll never know. Let me choose this one for sure. At least it will be irrational, right? If that makes sense. So this is the same concept here. We first express them as squares, square roots, and then in between we do know we have a few numbers available to choose from. You choose the one that makes kind of more sense to you, or you just think that yeah, this one surely will not be an exact value, so you choose that one, and that will be this value over here. This is one of the answers, by the way. You could have chosen so many more numbers. It's up to you. Now let's move on to question number 7. So what do we have here? We have 20 students who asked how many pets they owned. Okay, so we had 20 students in total. Very important here. So the responses are shown in the table below. So how do you read this? You read this as 3 students own 0 pet, 8 students own 1 pet, 3 students own 2 pets. So this is how you read the table. The frequency is the students said how many pets they have over here. Now for part 1, we have to find the median number of pets. The median is the middle value. So how do you find median? You would say the total number of students, 20, you plus 1, divide by 2. That will be 21, divide by 2. That should be what? 10.5 th element. If that makes sense, right? 10.5 th element. Because 21 divided by 2 is 10.5, so we are interested, the middle value is exactly at the 10.5 element. Now we do understand that before 10.5 we have 10, makes sense, and after 10.5 we have 11. So the idea is it will be the average of 10 and 11 to get 10.5. So let's find that value and this value, this element and this element, to finally find the 10.5 element. So let's find where we may find those values. So the first free value here will be 0. We agree, right? 0. Again, for some people it might be hard. Let me list this down in order so that makes sense. So when you ask these three students, they have 0 pet. It will be 0, 0, 0. Then we have 8. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now here we have 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And here we have 0. So we don't need anything because we have 0. And then 5 we have 2. So basically the table is actually this information right here in order. That's what it really represents. Now we're trying to find the 10.5 element. We understand it is between the 10th and the 11th element. So let's count in order. This is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. The 10th element is a 1. Now the 11th value is also a 1. So we take those two values. Again, this is done in order. As you can see, I did this in order. So the 10th value is 1. The 11th value is also 1, as we can see on this list right here. Now, to find the 10.5 element, we have to find the average of those two. So 1 plus 1 divided by 2, that will be 1. And 1 will be your answer. So this is how you kind of understand, derive this. This means this, and this is how we find those values that we need. Now we have to find part B. Calculate the number of the mean numbers of pets. The mean numbers of pets. So step by step, we have to find first. How do you find mean? You have to find the number of pets divided by the number of people. Right? So let's do this. So we have to multiply this. So we have 0 times 3. That will be 0. 1 times 8 will be 8. 2 times 3 will be 6. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 0 will be 0. 5 times 2 is 10. Again, the idea here is to find the total number of pets, right? That's why I am doing this, to find the total number of pets. Or you could add all this up as well to find the total number of pets, up to you. So let's do the summation. So that will be 8 plus 12 is 20. 20 plus 10 will be 30. 30 plus 6 will be 36. So the mean number will be 36 divided by the number of people, which is 20. Divided by 2, you will have 18. That will be 10. And that will be 1.8 as your answer for the mean number of pets. Okay, now let's move on to question number 8. So here we have to work out this fraction again. Fraction question supposed to be question number 1, but anyways, let's do this. So when you have subtraction or addition, the first thing we'll look at is the base, the denominator. We realize here they're different, so we have to make them become the same. So one method is by cross multiplication. So 2 times 5, cross multiply, 2 times 5 will be 10. Here we have minus. 3 times 3 is 9, and then we multiply them by each other. 3 times 5 will be 15. So your answer will be 1 over 15. Only one mark, should be pretty simple to solve this question. Now, here we have division. As we have seen before, we have to change division to multiplication because obviously it's easier to to multiply than divide fractions. Fair enough, right? So 3 over 5, same. Change that to multiply. Now, when you do this, you have to flip this upside down. 3 goes up, 2 goes down. Now you'll have 9 over 10 as your answer for part B of your question. But the main idea was to change this and flip the other side to solve that fraction. Now let's move on to question number 9. So write these lengths in order of size, starting with the smallest. Okay, so as you can see, it's kind of hard to compare right now because here we have centimeter, millimeter, km, and meters. So let's change everything to the same. For example, let's change everything to centimeters, right? It will be easy, I guess. I mean, up to you. It's up to you, honestly. You can change to meters. That will be fine as well. Up to you. Let's do meters. Why not? Here we have 34. And here we have what? So we have to know that 1 km is actually 1,000 meters. So let's change that. That will be 1. So, okay, this is 1 here. Sorry. 1. So 1, 2, 3. So 3,100 meters. This will be what? So that will be 3.3 meters, because we have to know that we know that 1 meter is actually 100 centimeter, and then 1 meter is actually 1,000 millimeters. So we have to know these conversions for these kind of questions. That's why it gets tricky. If you don't know this, yeah, you probably will not find these answers pretty easy. It will be kind of tough. Now for this one, obviously convert. So we know we have to divide by 100. That will be 320 meters. Now since they are the same units, meters, we can compare which one is the smallest. So by comparison, we have this one. So we have 3300. Now next one will be this one, 34. Next one we have this one. That will be 32,000. And finally we have 3.1 km. Again, it is up to you to choose the unit you would like to change them to. It is up to you. But the idea is we change them to the same unit so we can compare them and we know which one is smallest easily. Okay, so now let's move on to question number 10. The table below shows the monthly rent for 9 apartments and the distance of these apartments from the city center. So how do you read this table? So the rent costs this much. This is how much it costs, $570 a month. And it is 0.8 km from the city center. So this is basically the values given to you on the table. Nothing special. Okay, let's see what are the questions. So part 1 is we have to complete the scatter diagram. So the first 4 points has been plotted for you. So let's do that for the rest. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So on the x-axis we have distance. So first one is 2.0. 2.0 will be right here, and the y value will be 4.8. So 480. 480 will be will be somewhere right here. 480. Then we have 4.3, 270. 4.3. So 1, 2, 3. It goes up to 270. This is 200. 250. 270. Okay, and we have 2.3, 390. So 2.3 will be right here, 390 this one. Again, so for these kind of question, it's kind of easy. We're just plotting the points. I hope you guys don't lose mark in this. It might be easy to make mistakes, but you should not make mistakes in this because this is the points, the easiest one to actually get right. You should not mess up in those questions. And the last one is what? We have 360, 3 and 360, so 3. 360 should be somewhere over here. And then we have 1, 530. So 1 will be here, 530 will be 1, 2, 3, right here. Okay. Again, don't use pens for diagrams. Use your pencil. Okay. Don't follow me for this one. So we have done this one, part B. What type of correlation that we have? So we can see, obviously, as you can see, as this increases, the value is decreasing, right? So you can see, obviously, you see, it is a negative correlation. So for your level, you can only write negative or positive. Understand that when it's going up, it's positive. When it's going down, it's negative, right? That's basically what you need to know at your stage. Now for part C, we have to draw a line of best fit. Now again, using your pen, try your best. The idea of line of best fit is drawing a line that passes through most of the points, or if the point doesn't pass on the line, at least we have the same number of points on both sides. So I'll try to see what can I do so I can make this possible. So for example, here I may have something like this, right? You can see here I have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so balanced, and these 3 points kind of on the line. So make it balanced. That's the main idea of a line of best fit. Now this is part C done. Now for part D, use a line to estimate the monthly rent. So we're trying to find the monthly rent, which is on the y-axis, right? For an apartment which is 4 km from the city center. So 4 km will be right here. Again, for this question, you have to show your work. So 4 km from here, go up. Then find the corresponding value on this side. Okay, so you have to show this on your marks, obviously. So now yes, read this off. That will be 280 according to my graph. 280, 285, around that value. but it depends on how well you draw your graph. It's up to you. Yours might change a little bit, might be 270, 290, but should be around those values. That'll be question number 10. Now let's move on to question number 11. So we have 100 adults who asked the color of their car. Okay. Now the results are shown in the table below. So here we have write down the relative frequency that one of these cars is blue. Okay. So blue, how many blue cars do we have? As you can see, we have 23 blue cars. Now what is the total number of cars? We know it is 100, because they were asked what is the color of the cars, unless someone has two or three cars. But if you want to check, you can check, you can add them up, right? So 11 plus 23 should be 44. 44 plus this one, sorry, 34 plus this one will be 64 plus it will be 100. So the sum is 100. It's confirmed, right? Now the relative frequency will be taking the value for the blue divided by the total number of cars. That will be your answer for part A. Now for part B, obviously you can write this in decimals if you want to. It's the same thing. Now for part B, a different group of 1,200 adults were asked the color of their car. Now obviously the idea is we're using this information to kind of derive the rest here. That's the idea. Now we're asking this number of people now. They were asked the color of their car. Now the relative frequency that one of these adults owning a white car is 0.3. Now 0.3 times 1,200. What is that value? So that will be 3,600. One decimal place here, that will be 360. So from the group, we can expect 360 to have a white car. Find the number of people who own white cars. So we just did this. That will be around 360 according to that experiment. So the question we have to understand here is that, let's say we take 1,200 people. I believe some people don't understand the question, and that may be why they make mistakes and don't know what to do. And we tell you that, you know what, we think about 0.3% of the people has a white car. I guess if you phrase it that way, it's easier to find the answer. And that's why you have to use the frequency, the relative frequency times the number of people to find how many of those people have a white car. There's only one mark. It's not that tough. Now let's move on to part 12. By writing each number correct to 1 SF. This is very important here, 1 SF, right? Estimate the value of this one. Let's look at one number one at a time. So here we have 0.28. So as we have seen before, we will not take into account 0 if it is the first number. We start here. So this is 1 SF. One number, the first number. Now, after we have the 1, let's look at the next number. We ask ourselves, is this number more or equal to 5? The answer is yes. If it is, 8 is obviously more than 5, right? Then we have to add 1 to this number. So 2 plus 1 is 3. So your answer will be 0.3, and the rest becomes 0. Hopefully that makes sense. This is just a procedure of finding that value. Now, second number here, we have 37.4. 1 SF, we look at the first number. Again, if it's not 0 here, we look at the first one if it's not 0. Then we take care of the second one. We ask ourselves, is this more or equal to 5? The answer is yes. So we add 1 to this one. That becomes 4, and the rest becomes 0. Okay, and now for the last one, same step, 7.8. 1 SF, look at the next number. Is it more or equal to 5? The answer is yes. So we add 1 to this one. And that will be 8, and the rest becomes 0. Now finally add everything back to the same old equation. Here we have 0.3 times 40 divided by 80. So if you do this, it goes away. Divide by 4, that will be 1. That will be 2. You will have 0.3 divided by 2, which is 0.15. Okay, 0.15 will be your answer for this one. Well, you can always express this into fraction if you want to. It should be fine as well. Now let's move on to question number 13. So here we have to expand and simplify. So one by one, let's break this down. So let's take the first x here, multiply by this one over here. And here we have plus 3, so plus 3 multiplied by the other product. So this is how we can expand the brackets. We take the first value here, multiplied by the whole thing on the back, and here we have plus 3 multiplied by the whole thing on the back. This is the procedure of expansion. One by one, you will have x squared minus 4x plus 3x minus 12. So this is x squared, so minus 4 plus 3 will be minus 1, and this is your answer for part A. Of course, you can write this down here to present your answer. Now for this one, we have to expand, so one by one. So as we have seen here, 5 times x plus 10. Here we have minus, be careful, now will be minus 4x. Minus minus become plus 2. 5 minus 4 will be 1x. 10 plus 2 will be 12. So your answer will be 10x plus 12. Now let's move on. So here we have to write this down as a single fraction in its simplest form. Okay, let's try your best. As you can see, the base here are different. As we have seen before, when it comes down to fraction, addition, or subtraction, we'll look at the base first. The base are different, so we have to make them become the same. You can either do cross multiplication, or you do realize, by the way, I know that I can make 3 become 9. How? Multiply this by 3, and then of course you have to multiply the top by 3 as well, so you don't change the fraction. So let's simplify. 4 times 3 will be 12 over 9. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 5b over 9. Now because the base are the same, we can combine them together. Now the top will be 12b plus 5b. That will be 17b over 9 as your answer. Now you can simplify, simplest form obviously. You can write down as, up to you. I think that's fine. You don't need to, but it's up to you. You can always write this down as, we have 9 extra. That should be 8 over 9b. Up to you. This or this should be the same. Now let's move on to question number 14, part A. So we have to write this down in standard form. So let's count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 space to move. So that will be 8.63 times 10 power minus 4. The table below shows the approximate area of some deserts. So we have a table with the value here for the area of those deserts. Okay. Now for part 1, we have to write down the name of the desert with the largest area. So by observation, which one has the largest area? So here we have power 7, power 6, power 6, 5, 5. So it's kind of hard to compare. Let's make them become the same. Let's have 6 everywhere. This will become less than 110 over here. That'll be 14 times 10 power 6. 6, 6. That will be 0.9 times 10 power 6. And here we have 6. Now we can compare them equally. Which one is the largest? Here we have 9, 0.9, 1.3, 2.3, 14. So obviously the name will be Antarctica will be the largest one by comparison. The idea is whenever you have to compare the values, first make sure they have the same kind of units and same kind of powers so we can compare them easily. Now for part 2, we have to calculate the total area of Arabian and Kalahari deserts. So first thing first, here we have the Arabian and Kalahari will be over here. We have to find the total area, which is the sum. That will be 2.3 times 10 power 6 plus 9.0 times 10 power 5. Obviously, when it comes down to sum, because the powers here are different, we gotta change that. We have to make it become the same. So let's send one power here. That will become 23 times 10 power 5 plus 9.0 times 10 power 5. So now we can solve them easily. We kind of take out the times 10 power 5 outside. We have these two ref. You have 23 plus 9, and then this will go outside, 10 power 5. 23 plus this will be 32 times 10 power 5, and that should be 3.2 times 10 power 6. Your answer have to be expressed in standard form for full marks. That will be part 2 of your question. Now let's move on to question number 15. So here we have to evaluate this one. Let's see how can we solve this. So here we have 7 power minus 3 divide 7 power minus 4. Now we do know divide is minus, right? So that will become minus. Here we have minus 4. For example, we have to understand that. Let's say we have a power x over a power y. If you want to combine them, you will say it is a, big A, take x, because we have divide, it will be minus the value of y. That's how you combine indices. Same idea here, because here we have the same base. Big become big 7. Take minus 3, we have divide here, become minus, this will be minus this. 7 minus 3, we know minus minus is plus, so plus 4. Actually, 7 power 1, which is 7. Now let's move on to part B. So find the value of k for this equation. So one by one, obviously, we first have to bring this in. That will be 3, 6, this. And then that will be 3 power 2. If the base are the same, we can cancel them out. That will be 6k equal to 2. So k has to be 2 divided by 6, which is 1 over 3. That will be part B. Now let's move on to part C. So we have to simplify this. Okay. So I guess one of the mistakes people may make is they think they have to distribute 3 to everyone, but that's not the case. For example, let's say we had 3, and then we had 2x plus 3. The way you expand this is you will give 3 to everyone. That will be 3 times 2 will be 6x plus 9. But here we don't have plus, we have multiplication, so we can just send the 3 to the whole product. So one by one, here we have square first. That will be what? 2 square, that will be 2 power 4. Plus multiply, it is not plus multiply, so that will be 3 power 6 times 2, right? And then here we have 5, that will be 8. Now we just send the 3 to the 3 where it belongs, because it is multiplication here. That will be 2 power 4 times 3. Now it is basically 3 power 1 times 3 power 6. As we have seen in indices, the base are the same, become one big base, because here we have multiply, become plus. So here we have 1 plus 6. Compared to divide, here was minus, so plus here will become, multiply will become plus. You have 3 power 7, so 3 power 7, and here we have 5 power 8. And that will be part C of your answer. Now let's move on to question number 16. So what can we do for this one? So here we have what? We have P as a vector 2, 3, and Q as a vector minus 3, 2. Okay, so first one, we have to draw and label vector P. So let's look at P. P is 3, 2. Now, what does it mean, 3, 2? Again, usually we assume that going in this direction is positive, and going in this will be positive. Going right and up is positive, as we have seen on the x-axis and y-axis. Usually we think of that as positive, and going up is positive as well. Here we have positive 2 and positive 3. So let's first begin with this one. 2. Let's say we're beginning. Now you can begin anywhere you want. It is not a rule here. You can just begin. You can begin here, 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 up to you. I'll choose to begin here. This is my beginning point. It is plus 2. This is the first value. It is the horizontal value. So plus 2 will be 1, 2. And then plus 3. 3 is a vertical value because it is positive, it goes up. So 1, 2, 3. So if I start here, I finish here, this will represent my vector. Direction will be this one. Now next one will be 2q. So 2 times q will be minus 6 and 4. Now I can begin anywhere you want, but obviously just be logical about this because it is minus 6. So let's begin somewhere over here. Let's say I begin here. Minus 6, as we have seen, positive is this side, negative will be this side, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. And then 4, obviously it's a mistake because now I have to go up, but I don't have a space. So let me try again. I'll begin here. I'll end up here. And 1, 2, 3, 4 will be somewhere over here. So your answer will be something like this. Again, you always use a pencil so you can erase. That'll be 2q. Okay, so for your value over here. You can erase and try again. So let's move on to part C of your question. So label this one. So let's first find this. What is P? Given to you as 2, 3. What is Q? Given to you as minus 3, 2. That will be what? 2 minus minus will become 5. 5, 1. 5, 1 will be P minus Q. So same concept. Let's begin somewhere logical. So that will be, let's say here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 will be somewhere over here. So that should be P minus Q. Okay, so the direction will be this one. Now let's move on to question number 17. So the scale of a map is 2 centimeters to 1 km. So that's the ratio. 2 centimeters represent 1 km. Okay, now the area of wood on the map is 6 centimeters square. So here we have the ratio of centimeters to km. So we have to first change that to centimeters square. How can you do this? We square both sides. If you square this side and this side, this one will become 4. 2 squares is 4. Centimeters square is, this is 1 square is 1. Km square. This is the ratio that we have. Now what is 1 centimeter square? We divide by 4 on both sides, you will have 1 over 4 km square. So, going back, we have 6 centimeters square has to be, if 1 is this much, 6 will be 6 times this much. So simplify, divide by 2, you will have 2 here, 3 here, divide by 3 divided by 2 will be 1.5. 1.50 km square. That will be your answer for part 17. Now let's move on to question number 18. So in this Venn diagram, the shade, the region represented by P intersecting Q prime. Now Q prime is everything outside of Q. Not Q, but outside of Q, right? Now P is this one, so where they meet, you can see that it will be only this region where they intersect. It is the whole of P, but excluding Q. If that makes sense. First thing first, P is the whole P. Intersecting outside of Q will be only this region where they meet, right? Intersecting. Now for part B, we have 32 members. 14 of the members are female, 18 are male. Okay, so 14 is female, 18 is male. Now 5 of the females has black hair, and 6 of the males has black hair. Okay, cool. Now what else do we need to do here? So B is the members with black hair. Okay, so now we have to complete complete the Venn diagram to show this information. So what can we do here? So as we can see here, we have obviously okay, I thought of something kind of funny, but anyways, so here we have 14 females. We have 5 females have black hair, and the rest will be 9 non-black hair, and we have 18 males, and here we have 6 males has black hair, which means 12 does not have black hair. So let's break it down, so at least we know what are we dealing with. So everything is a member right here, so we have to complete the Venn diagram. So the females, we know female total is how much? It is, the total of the female is, female total is 14. This is black hair. So how many people has black hair? So the total of female is 14 people for female. Black hair, we have this plus this. That will be 6 plus 5 will be 11 people has black hair. People. Right? Now, how do you read this? It is the number of people who is a female and has black hair. Who is a female and has black hair will be 5. So 5 will be here. Now we know female is 14. So female without black hair will be just 9. Right? Now we know that number of black hair people is 11, which is only male is 6. Here you go. If that makes sense. We're just breaking this down for it to make sense. Now finally, we do know that everything included, we have 32 people, which means outside we will have how many people? So 5 plus 6 is 11. 11 plus 9 should be 20. So 5 plus 6, 11 plus 9 should be 20. So the total number of people will be 32 minus 20. That should be 2, 1. So 12 people will be outside, which are the people, which is male and females with no black hair, something like that, right? We just have to make sure that it becomes the sum of everything adds up to 32, because this is the main idea here. Everything has to come down to 32. Now to find these values, as you can see, we had to go through this breakdown procedure for it to make sense. So female, how many are female with black hair given to you? Female with black hair was 5, intersecting right here. Number of females was 14, so we know this whole set has to be 14. So obviously this here only, female with no black hair, will be 9. And this is the number of people with black hair was 11. We know number of female with black hair was 5, so the remaining will be 6. Obviously the rest will just be the rest. That will be for 2 marks only. I guess it could be confusing if you don't pay attention, but if you take your time step by step, usually there should be no problem. Now let's move on to question 19. So here we have B, D, E, F, and G are points on the circumference of the circle center O. Okay. We have angle DFG given to you here, and then here we have AC is a tangent to the circle at B. So this is a tangent to the circle at B. All right. Which is a straight line, obviously. Now what else do we need to find? So we have DFG is 75. We have ABG, so ABG is 48, 75. We have to find the angle DGF. DGF, so DEG. What am I reading? DEG is this one. Okay, as you can see, this is done mostly by observation 2 and calculation, but here you can see that we have angle, kind of neighboring angles, so they have to be the same. But the theory is something quite different. It's basically angle on the same circumference are the same. So for example, you can see angle F here, it is joined from G and D, and exactly also angle E is joined by the side G and D. So when they share the same circumference, DG, right, they have the same angle. That's the theory behind this. When they are from the same circumference DG, so DG is this circumference right here. As you can see, it joins here, but it also joins here. So because of that, these two angles are the same. That is part B of your question. Now for part B, DOG. DOG will be this one. Now again, this is another theory which we have to know. The angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. As you can see, here we have they must also be on the same circumference. DG is this one and this one. So angle at center has to be twice the angle at the circumference. So this one was also an angle at the angle at the circumference, not center. Because of that, it was not twice, it was the same. So when they are both at the circumference, they are the same. But if one of them, even though if they have the same circumference, if it is at the center, it will be twice this one. This is something you have to know for these kind of questions. So one, it will be 75 times 2, twice. That will be 10, that will be 150. So 150 will be your answer for part B. Now let's move on to part C. We have angle DBC. DBC, we have to find this one. So here we know this is what? This is 75. Okay, so here we have to use again another concept, because we have G, B, D, and E touching the surface of the circle, and it is a four-sided shape. As you can see, it has 4 sides. We can use this theory. Again, 2 things is the conditions. One, it must touch the surface of the circle, and it must be 4-sided. Now, this is confirmed. If that's the case, we understand that the sum of the opposite angle have to add up to 180. So basically, this angle here, let's call this B. If you were to plus this one, it has to give you 180, which means B here has to be 180 minus 75, which is 105 degrees. Now this will be 105. Now, from what we can see, obviously this is a straight line, so the sum of all this angle over here has to be 180. So we have to find the remaining one. So we know this, we have to find this one. That'll be the whole thing minus 105. That'll be 75 and minus 48 to find the remaining angle over here. That'll be 6, 10, 10, that'll be 7, that'll be 27. Okay, that will be 27 degrees for the value of the BC. Again, there's three concepts here that we have learned. Angle on the same circumference. And then we have angle at center is twice the angle at the circumference. And here we have the last one, which is when the O touches and it is four-sided shape, the opposite angle have to add up to 180. And based on that, we use that information to find the rest. Okay, now let's move on to question number 20. So here we have f of x is equal to this fraction. We have to find this. So basically we have to replace the value of x by 3. That'll be 6 times 3 plus 2 divided by 5. That'll be 18 plus 2, that'll be 20 divided by 5. That'll be 4. Now let's move on. So here we have to find f inverse. So first step is to let y equal to f of x. That'll be 6x plus 2 over 5. Now we have to make x become the subject. First thing first, cross multiply. This will become 5y equal to 6x plus 2. Again, y is also y over 1, if that makes sense. Anything divided by 1 is itself, right? That's why I write this way. Now we can cross multiply, you will have this. Now make x become subject, you will have 6x is equal to 5y minus 2. And x will be 5y minus 2 divided by 6. So finally, to express f inverse of x, it is in terms of x. We change the y here, make it x over 2 divided by 6. Now let's move on to question number 21. So y here is inversely proportional to this. So inversely, so y is inversely, so inversely is 1 over this value. Now we know it is also means y, we change that to equal, has to be a constant over the value of this one. Okay, so when y is 2, this is this, x is 3. Replace and find the value of y. So y is 2, that will be k, x is 3 plus 1 is 4 square. That will be k is equal to 2 times 16, that will be 32. So k will be 32. Now we know this, replace back in your equation, you have y is equal to 32 over x plus 1 square. Now using that equation, we have to find the value of y, when x is equal to 9. So y will be 32. X is 9, 9 plus 1 is 10, 10 square. That will be 32 divided by 100, that will be 0.32. Okay, that will be your answer for question number 21. Now let's move on to question number 22. So here we have to factorize this, so let's try our best. So let's first kind of separate those two. I'll write 5ax minus 3ay. And here we have minus, some space, minus 10 cx plus 6 cy. So we will factorize a here because they are the same. So a will be outside. And you have 5x minus 3y remaining. If that makes sense, right? And what happens here? Here we have minus. Let's take out the minus if you want to. And then here we have, they are both even. We can take out the value of 2. And here we have c. Take out c. We have remaining 5x. Now since minus is outside now, this becomes minus. And here we have 3y. Hopefully that makes sense. If you were to expand this, you will get the same thing back. That's how you check if you did the right factorization. Okay, so the thought process was pretty easy. We have minus. Let me try to take out the minus outside. I have two even numbers. Let me try to factorize the 2 outside. Then we have c and c here. We take out c outside. Now once I have this outside, everything remaining will be, and we have 10 minus 10x cx divided by this, we'll have this. 6 cy divided by this, you will have this. So this will be on the inside. Now finally, you can see that this and this are also the same. So we can factorize this outside. You will have 5xy minus 3y. Here you have a, here we have minus 2c. This is the factorization of part A. Now for part B, factorize this one. Again, this is done by trial. So we try one by one. Even when I look at this, I don't know the answer. I'm still trying. I need to try. So you have two brackets because here we have x squared. Now here we have 15. 15 is 1 times 15, 3 times 5. Obviously, you could try this one. Up to you. But you know that from experience, sometimes by trial and error, you cannot see that, okay, let me try this one to begin with. 15 is 5 times 3. Here we have x squared, so it has to be x times x, right, to be x squared. Now here we have 4. 4 is 1 times 4 or 2 times 2. So we can choose this pair or this pair. But the idea is we have to make sure the combination of this give you minus 7. So let me try. So I can use, let me use this one because I can see here that will be 2 here and 2 here. Now to get minus 7, I can have minus 10. So 5x times minus 2 will be minus 10. And here we have what? So those will be 2 times 3 will be 6. I can have, so can I take minus 10 to become 6? No, I don't think so, right? Not possible in that case. So kind of not possible. So that will be not good. So try again. So I can try 5x, 3x. I can take 4 here. So here we tried 2 already, it doesn't work, so we don't use this one. I can try 4 here and 1 here. Right. So here we have 5x times 1 is 5x. Here we have 12. We need to have minus 7. I can use minus 12 plus 5. If that makes sense, because that will be 5x times plus 1 is plus 5. Minus 4 times this will be minus 12. So minus 12 plus 5, that will give you minus 7. So this is the right factorization. Again, this is done step by step by trial and error. As you can see, first when I tried it doesn't work out, so I have to try again. The idea is when you try these pairs, you have to multiply this by this and this by this. And then here you can have a combination of both. For example, when I take this, 5x times 1 will be 5x. 4 times this will become 12x. How can I use these two to get minus 7? You would say, to get minus 7, I have to take minus 12 and then plus 5. So I have to make this become plus and try to make this become minus. So I can have those two required numbers to get this one right here. So this is done by trial. Again, nothing natural, but trial and error. This is your answer here, 5x minus 4, 3x plus 1. Now last one is 23. Here we have to rearrange to make x become the subject. So first thing first, whenever you have fraction like this, what can you do? Cross multiply. Y is 1 divided by 1. Cross multiply, you will have 2 xy times, minus y equal to 3x plus 2. Bring all the x to one side, you will have 3x, y minus 3x equal to y plus 2. Factorize, we have x here, that will become 3y minus 3 is equal to y plus 2. So finally, 3y minus 3 will be sent over here. So you have x will be y plus 2, 3y minus 3. This is how you make x become the subject of this fraction. Now let's move on. So given that we have these two, we have to find the value of k. So one by one, m times n. 1403 k 104. So 1 times this will be 1. So 1 times k is k. K plus 0 times 1 will be k. 1 times 1 is 0. That will be 0. So again, how do we do matrix multiplication? Is rows by column. So rows by column, rows by column, rows by column, rows by column. So this time this will be 4 plus 3. That will be 4k plus 3. Rows by column, that will be 0. That will be 12. And for mn, this one will be k104 times m will be 1403. So rows by column, so that will be k. Rows by column, that should be k times 0, 0, that should be 0 as well. Rows by column, that should be 1 times 1 is 1 plus 16, that should be 15. rows by column. So 1 times this plus this times this, that should be 12. So by comparison, we know that this one, k0, k4, k plus 3, 12, has to be k15, 0, 12. As you can see, these all matches. This and this match, this and this match, this and this match. So we have to use this to find the value of k. So 4k plus 13 is 15. K has to be 15, so minus 13, that should be 2, which means k has to be the value of half. 2 divided by 4 is half. 0.5 or half will be your value of k. Now let's move on to question number 25. That's the last question, by the way. 25 will be a question of vector. So here we have a triangle. We have a shape right here. B is a midpoint of AC. So B is a midpoint of AC, which we cannot derive if this is the same distance. We know that AB is given to you by 6A plus 3B. So AB, A to B will be 6A plus 3B. But we know that AC, we know that B is a midpoint. So obviously, this also has to be the same thing, 6A plus 3B. We can derive from the information given to you, right? Because these two are the same length and same direction, so this length has to be the same as this length, right? Now what else? So we have E is a midpoint of 80, so this is the midpoint of 80, so these two also has to be the same value. Okay, now we have DC is 5A plus 2B, so 5A plus 2B. Here you go. Now part 1, express as simply as possible in value in terms of A and B. AC, A going to C. So as you can see, it will be A going to B and B going to C. So it will be 6A and plus 6A 3B. That'll be what? That will be 12A 6B. Right, in that case, that will be our value right here. Now, we have to find AD. A going to D. A going to D. Now, by using this diagram, you can see we can first A, we can go to C. And then from C, we can go to D. AC we just found, it was 12A plus 6B. Now, CD, we know that DC is 5A minus 2B, but CD will be in the opposite direction. So whenever you have to go in the inverse direction, we have to change the sign of the whole thing. We go 5A. So minus will be outside times this whole vector right here. You will have 12A plus 6B minus 5A minus 2B. So 5 minus this. Obviously, you can only take minus the same kind of variables. So A to 12A minus 5A, that should be 7A. 6B minus 2B, that should be plus 4B. That'll be part 2 of your question. Now you have that. Now what else can we do? Right. Now we have to show part 3, part B. We have to show that EB is in the same direction as DC. Now we have DC already, we have to find EB. So how can you find EB? So let's think. What can we use to find EB? So because we know that the value of AD is given to you by what? AD, A going to D, it has been found to be 7A plus 4B. Now we know that E is a midpoint, so if A goes to E, what is that value? Let's find out. So A goes to E will be half of this value, that should be half of this. So A, E will be 7 over 2A plus 2B. Hopefully that makes sense. We're just using the value given to us and also the value that we have to derive that value. Now we have to find EB. From E, how do we go to B? So using observation again, from E, we can go to A and A go to B. So E, let's go to A plus A go to B. Now we know the value of A, it is in this direction, but EA will be in the opposite direction. So have a sign in front, change the sign, that'll be 7 over 2A plus 2B. AB is given to you by 6A plus 3B. Simplify, that should be minus 7 over 2A minus 2B plus 6A plus 3B. So this is the final step. Let's simplify. Here we have minus 3.5 plus 6. That should be 2.5. A. Take your time, do it step by step, up to you. So minus 7 over 2 A plus 6A. We have different bases, make them become the same. You will have minus 7 over 2 A. That will be 12A over 2. Because we have to make this become 2 times 2 times 2. 12 minus 7 will be what? 5 over 2A. That should be 2.5A. So 2.5A for this one. Now minus 2 plus this will be plus B. So we have derived that EB is going to be 2.5A plus B. All right? And we have been given to you by DC. DC has been given to you by 5A plus B. Now you can clearly see that, so 2B. You can clearly see that DC is twice of EB. Does that make sense? If you take EB times 2, you get this. So we can write this down. That makes sense, right? EB times 2, you get DC. Times 2 will be 5, 2. Right? So write this down. EB times 2 has to be DC. Or you can write this down again. Hence, we can say EB is half of DC. Now you can write, since EB is a multiple of DC, we confirm that EB same direction as DC. So the idea is to prove that it is a multiple of each other. So once you prove that, we can confirm that these two vectors are indeed parallel. That's the idea behind these questions. So yeah, that was the last question. If you guys have any questions, leave me a comment below. Otherwise, all the best and really good learning.